Welcome to episode 14 of Followers of the Cross. This is your host, Jason Reynolds. This is a continuation of a series of interviews with authors and other people from the International Christian Retail Show. Please forgive the sound quality of the interview. I recorded most of my interviews in the media room. It's a large room with echoes and many interviews going on at one time. This interview today is with Amy Parker. Amy has sold over 1 million books for children, teens, and adults, although most of her work has been for young kids around the preschool age. If you're the parent of a young child having trouble getting him or her to bed, Amy's books might be your solution. I'll let Amy tell you how. Today we're talking with Amy, and she's a published author with over 1 million books sold. Amy, can you tell me a little bit about your books and sort of how you got started writing?
Yes, I write mostly children's Christian books, although I have written some for teens and adults. And I started I had done some writing on the side, but my first authored book was a night-night prayer, and that released in 2008. They've recently re-released that with new illustrations, and then that sparked a whole line of night-night books. They're sturdy, padded board books, and parents just seem to love them. And we all need resources for getting our kids to sleep at night. And that's what sparked the night-night prayer. I was getting a wiggly redhead to sleep, a 3-year-old, and I had sung all the songs, and I looked out the window and I saw a tree swaying in the dark, and I said, "Shh, the trees are sleeping." And that got his attention, and so I continued, "Shh, the sun is sleeping." And then as soon as he went to sleep, which wasn't too long after that, I got up and wrote the verse that became a night-night prayer. And so that, because it sold well, that one we did other prayer books and night-night books. There's a Christmas prayer, and most recently, Night-Night Mommy and Night-Night Daddy. Night-Night Farm will release in July, but Night-Night Prayer is really what started it all.
And can you, I'm putting you on the spot, can you give me just a small excerpt from Night-Night, just a little Night-Night, such and such?
Oh, okay, let me think. Starts, "Shh, it's time for sleeping, for getting snugly in my bed. But first I say my night-night prayer and bow my sleepy head." And then it goes through everyday items that a kid can connect with. You know, these are board books, so preschoolers. So we have a puppy and a kitten and trees and sun. The puppy one says, "Shh, the puppy's sleeping, a toy under his chin. When he rouses from his sleep, we'll play hide and seek again. Night-night, puppy." So every spread ends with saying night-night to that item. So the child can walk around and say, "Night-night, puppy, night-night, mommy," and then it ends with "Night-night, God." So it's just a simple way for children to sort of acclimate to the nighttime routine.
Awesome. Okay. It sounds like you have great experience from what you were saying before of putting a child to bed. How many children do you have?
I have 2 boys, and it's that rowdy redhead that inspired the nighttime books. He's my younger one.
How old is he now?
He is 11 now.
So what does he think now about his mother having written books based on his bedtime? Does he go around telling his friends about it, or is he kind of like, "Oh, don't talk about it"? No,
he's sort of blasé about the whole "my mom is an author" thing. It's just, it's just my job, just like my mom is a nurse, and his dad is a surveyor. So it's a pretty ordinary thing to him. But he does know that is his book, and he thinks that's pretty special.
Excellent. One day he may just be prepared. I'm saying, as the parent of a teenager myself, the day may come where he's like, "Please, Mom, do not mention that to anybody. I do not exist."
He probably will.
Treasure it while it lasts. But then again, he may be the exception.
Yes, we'll see.
So tell me a little bit about the other types of books that you have, and what are you working on? What's coming up here in the next few months?
The next few months, I have So I wrote a book that released last fall called The Plans I Have for You. And it's a really whimsical book that's based on Jeremiah 29:11 that talks about it. It allows God to speak in a first-person voice to the child and say, hey, you, I've got big plans for you. And it's just a really fun book that lets kids know that they don't have to have it all figured out. But God does have big plans for them, and if they just trust in Him, then He'll lead the way. So that was last fall, and in July, a board book version of that is going to release so that we can reach the toddlers with that message and the preschoolers. Then also in July, Night Night Farm will release, and it is the cutest book. It was inspired by... we had decided to do a Night Night Farm, but then my editor saw a video with goats, real live goats in pajamas on YouTube. You should look it up. And she said, okay, for Night Night Farm, we have to have all of the animals in pajamas. And I said, I'm in. So it is really the cutest book. It sort of walks through the nighttime routine with a child, but it includes farm animals. So like the piggies take a bath and the kittens have a night-night snack. And at the end of each spread, the animals say goodnight in their animal voices. So the sheep say ba-ba, or the child will say ba-ba sheep to the animals, to the sheep. And, the the child will say moo-moo cow. So they sort of learn animal sounds, which is big around, 1 to 2, maybe even 3 years old. But it's fun even if you're not learning the animal sounds. It's just another sweet bedtime book that's based on the farm.
Well, my hat is off to you for being able to connect with kids who are that young. Is this something that you have always been good at? Maybe you had younger siblings, or is this something you just pretty much learned by trial by fire with your own kids?
Trial by fire, definitely. Of course, from the night story, I obviously did not know. I was at my wit's end. I didn't know how to get him to sleep. So, and I really think God just shows us the way, and so that sparked the night prayer. Then as we went on, I would get feedback on books, and like I did Thank You God for Mommy and Thank You God for Daddy, and I keep hearing, when are we getting a grandparent book? Well, that's in the works right now. So Thank You God for Grandma and Grandpa is in the works. Grandparents, we do honor you too. But the repetition, especially in a bedtime book, the repetition not only creates a rhythm, but it also teaches some reading confidence very early on when the children can anticipate the words that are coming next. With a night prayer, it begins with shh, the whatever is sleeping. So if the child, when you turn the page, the child can look at the illustrations and know what is coming. So the child can read that first line along with you. And then every spread ends with night blank. So whatever the reading confidence. So I try to build that into all of my books. And just snuggling up with a parent and reading, really. I can't take credit for that. Really, young kids, in utero kids, all kids, yes, read. And don't stop. Well, I think reading confidence and reading fluency as well.
Your professional background.
So, my first semester in college, I was going to be a nurse, if you can imagine. And I don't remember what clicked, but then I decided I was going to be an English teacher. So I major in English with a minor in education. And then I did this internship, and a professor came up to me and said, hey, this publisher has an internship. Would you like to do it? And I said, sure. So I did this internship at Tommy Nelson and absolutely fell in love with the publishing industry. And I just knew that that's where I was supposed to be. I didn't care what I did in the publishing industry, but I just knew I needed to be there. So I went back and I added a writing minor, and I kept my education minor, but I changed it to non-teaching. And I used that education minor probably more than I use my writing minor, because we really want especially with Christian children's books. We really want these truths that we're sharing with them to stick with them for a lifetime. And if you have a tried and true educational method and let the kids learn without them knowing that they're learning, then the truths will stick with them longer. And I just, when it's the messages of the Bible, they need those truths in their hearts for a lifetime.
Wow. So do you have plans at some point, do you think, to, obviously you're gifted at connecting with young children and sharing biblical truths. Do you think you'll end up doing other biblical type books of doing a story, taking some of the major Bible characters and making that something for little kids to be able to read at their level?
Yes, well, I did write one with Scholastic, 5-minute bedtime Bible stories, and that takes Bible stories. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's 5-minute bedtime Bible stories, and so that walks through, I think, 12 different Bible stories, I hope. So I have done that, and I really like doing that because I feel like when the Bible is timeless and it's infallible, and but it's not always written in a language that a child can understand. And some of those stories stretch across chapters and chapters and chapters. And like the story of Joseph, it's so complicated and it stretches all throughout the end of Genesis. And so kids really need that storytelling element to come into play, and they need descriptions and the story arc and the conflict, and which is naturally there, but they just need it to be shaped in a way that they can digest at that age. So I think Bible stories are really important. I don't really have any like that on my plate for now, but I do have other ideas. I have, at any given time, right now I have brand new concepts that I'm working on. Yesterday I spoke publicity for those, like I'm doing right now. So there are always so many different states. There's just so many different aspects of it, and just trying to keep a handle on it, but always trying to keep new stuff coming. That's challenging, but good. A good challenge.
Certainly. You certainly have your plate full.
Yes, right now I do. But, it's, we sort of joke that this is a feast or famine business, and but right now there's plenty for me to do, and I'm just trying to keep up.
Excellent. So one thing that I try to ask everyone that I interview is what is one thing about yourself that people wouldn't expect or would sort of surprise them? And it could be anything, or it could be your favorite hobby. Maybe, I don't know, I won't come up with a wild example, but you might like snowboarding, even though you live in Tennessee.
I tried to snowboard, and I have mad respect for snowboarders because I could not even stand up on a snowboard. Maybe a little surprising, I don't know, but I live in a house full of boys, so there's not a lot of girly stuff that goes on at my house. So we spend our weekends doing boy stuff. We hike or work at the farm or do things like that. So, going shopping and painting my fingernails and things like that, they don't happen very often. That's sort of a but yes, I have a house full of rowdy, stinky boys, and so maybe these soft, sweet children's books are the other side that I get to express.
It sounds like your lady friends need to take you out for a
yes,
girls' day.
Yes, call
nails
me.
And all that stuff.
That's right.
Okay. Well, that's all that I have.
Okay.
Is there anything else about your writing or about whatever that you'd like to say?
If I could leave you with one thing, it's just read to your kids. Seek out those quality books there's so much out there to read, and I know we get bombarded with just walking into Barnes & Noble is sensory overload. But make that a priority and make those biblical truths a priority in your life. It's hard to do. There's, sports and stuff that compete with that, but just make that a priority and just find a